So, let's just start from the beginning. You have a boy and a girl, probably, who are dating. Boyfriend and girlfriend. They say, we're dating. We're going out. Okay? Boyfriend and girlfriend. Now, after a while, depends on the person, the boy may ask the girl to marry him. Okay? He'll say to the girl, will you marry me? Probably it will be a special event. Maybe a surprise. Maybe he will have a secret that he keeps and then surprises her suddenly and proposes to her. Proposes to her. That's the verb. Proposal. A proposal is the noun. So he proposes to her. That means maybe he gets down on one knee and says, will you marry me? And then if she says yes, then okay. If she says no, different situation. Now they are engaged. Now they're not boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. They are engaged. An engagement is when two people have decided to get married, but they're not married yet. When they talk about the other person, they'll say, my fiancé or my fiancé. Usually the bride and her mother will do most of the planning. That's traditional. The bride is the girl who will get married. She's called the bride. The bride. Bride. And the bride's father usually has to pay for the wedding and the reception. The reception is the party after the wedding. So if you're a father and you have 3 daughters, then that's going to be pretty expensive. Okay, so plan a lot. Finally, the wedding day comes. The bride will wear a very expensive white wedding dress or wedding gown, and the groom will wear a tuxedo, black with this kind of tie. It's called a tuxedo. It's a very special kind of suit. Beside the bride are some girls that she has chosen to be beside her. They are called the bridesmaids. The bridesmaids. The number 1 bridesmaid, usually the best friend of the bride, that's the girl, is called the maid of honor. Usually they're best friends. And the maid of honor has to do some other planning stuff and maybe have a party for the bride before she gets married. On the other side, you have the groom. The groom is the man. The men on his side are called the groomsmen. The groomsmen. Okay? They also wear usually tuxedos. The number 1 groomsman is called the best man. That's pretty obvious, right? Best man. He's the best man. He's probably the best friend, or maybe brother, of the groom. And the best man has a couple of responsibilities. The best man needs to plan the bachelor party. Now, not all grooms have bachelor parties, but a bachelor party is like a party that celebrates the end of being single. You're not single anymore. You're going to be married for the rest of your life. So, on the wedding day, in a church, bride, groom, bridesmaids, groomsmen, and an aisle. Aisle is the center row of the church. The bride's father will walk her down the aisle together. And you hear usually the traditional dun 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 dun. And he will then hand over the bride to the groom, his daughter to the groom. And then they walk up a couple of stairs usually to where they will be married. And then the bride's parents sit down and the groom's parents are sitting down on the other side, opposite sides. Bride's family over here, groom's family over here. Everybody crying probably, right? The person who is going to marry them, maybe a minister, will say a few words, and it depends again, but finally he will say, do you, blah blah blah, his name, take da 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 as your wife? And he will say, I do. And then he will turn to the bride and say, do you, blah blah blah, take blah 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 as your husband? She will say, I do. And sometimes they have more words to say. Then he says,
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
So after they kiss and exchange rings, they have to exchange rings, wedding rings, then they're married. And they run back down the aisle or walk back down the aisle. Sometimes people throw rice at them, and then sometimes they drive away in a car. After that, there is the wedding reception. Now, the reception is the big part. The ceremony is just sort of a formality. A formality is something you've got to do. So they do that, and then everybody looks forward to, the party. And so they have the reception, usually in a different location. It's usually never the same. And it's often not just people eating. It's usually a big party. There's usually drinking and music and dancing and great food, and sometimes it goes until, midnight or 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It's usually a pretty big party, and hundreds of people are there, and they bring gifts for the bride and groom, and they, cut cake, and the best man needs to give a speech. So then after the party, after the reception, they go on a honeymoon. Honeymoon. It's a trip you take after you get married. And see you next time.
有力，你的英语外教老师，随时随地触手可及，你需要的只是一部手机。怎么在有力上课呢？有力是实时在线课堂，操作非常方便。扫描有力二维码，点击上课，很快就会有经验丰富的外教老师和你开始一节15分钟的口语课。现在赶快来一次免费体验课吧，超越自己，从现在开始。